let me know when, Luke? Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the October 16th, 2025 Webster Town Board meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Deneen, can you do roll call, please?
Supervisor Flaherty.
Here.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Present.
Councilman Cahill.
Here.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Here.
Attorney for the town Taylor.
Here. Okay. Our first item tonight is the public hearing regarding the Town of Webster's 2026 preliminary budget. Just a couple things before I put the mallet down and we open the public hearing. The preliminary budget was adopted, I think, at the September 4th town board meeting. Then it goes to you as the town clerk. This was in the Webster Today October edition that anybody who lives in Webster would have gotten that in their mailboxes at their home a couple weeks ago. This was also in the Webster Herald. At least the summary budget, is that correct, in the budget notes? So this is part of the process. This is part of the legal process. And it somewhat culminates after 6 months with the public hearing and then subsequent to that if the board votes on the budget. Interestingly enough, this is TMI, I apologize. If you go over the New York State tax cap that was put into effect about 15, 20 years ago, you can do it, but you have to get a super majority. It's got to be a 4-1 town board vote or a 5-0 town board vote. As you see from the handout that I gave out earlier tonight, we have not exceeded the New York State tax cap in the last 7 years. I think the last time we did exceed it was 2017. 16. And there's 930 towns in New York State. We just came back from an Association of Towns meeting that said in the last 5 years, about 23% of the towns have exceeded the New York State tax cap. Webster is not one of them, which I'm very proud of, and I think that says a lot about the town board's conservative budgeting approach. For the people that take the podium, I kind of have 3 simple rules. I think they're common sense. There's a book called Everything You Needed to Learn, You Learned in Kindergarten, something like that, or at 5 years old. One is, it's up to 5 minutes. Please time your comments and what you have to say correctly, because I've said it many times. There is no way nice for me to say you're at 4:45, you're at 4:50. It comes out sounding not good. So don't put me in that position. 2, you can go up there and ask 37 questions. When you get done, that doesn't mean the board is going to sit there and rattle off 37 answers. I will say this, we will take those questions and we will try to get you in touch over the next couple days with the appropriate town department head subject matter expert to get those answers. 3, and this to me is the big one. You get up there and talk and you want to say what you have to say, all right? What you don't need is people heckling you from the crowd. The only people that should be talking are the ones that are on that podium. And what you hear tonight from the podium, you may not agree with, but you know what? That's the great thing about our country. That person is allowed to give their opinion and talk. That means that we, as a civilization, civilized people, don't have the right, as far as I'm concerned, to heckle, boo, and all that stuff, all right? So those are pretty much the simple rules. Last but not least, when I went through earlier before the meeting and I asked everybody, do you want to speak at the public hearing or at the subsequent open to the public 5 minutes? If you didn't sign in, you still have the opportunity to say, you know what, I think I do want to speak. We don't close it out because you didn't sign in. And conversely, if all of a sudden we get to you where you signed in and you're like, you know, I don't really want to speak, we don't make you speak because you signed in. We're pretty flexible. So, with that being said, Counselor, I'm going to open the 2026 preliminary budget public hearing. Per the sign-in sheet, our first speaker is Christopher Naka.
Chris Naka, 1065 Shoecraft Road. I know these questions won't be answered immediately, but Paul, great job. Thank you for that breakdown. That was indeed a lot of information. I'm happy to have it, and I'm excited to kind of break it down further when I get home off the website. I wish I had done it sooner because it's so much information. Is it going to be the same information that was presented? Is there going to be more like of a micro breakdown? Like if you said 4% increase in people, in how much you're paying people, essentially, that being split up between the unions and just employees of the town, like is it, how much is that breakdown? Like how much went into the unions, how much went into, you know, paying the employees of the town more? Is that kind of like micro data broken down a little bit more? Is it just kind of?
We have the breakdown.
Okay. Yep, I keep it simple, you know. It's just in that whole thing, you know, my mind goes crazy thinking of all the different things we could spend that happy fund money on. That was just my one little question. Thank you.
Thanks, Christopher. Next up tonight is Dave Malecki.
Written speech, so if you could give that to the Dave after you read it.
All right, Dave, you're up.
I have to say, Bridget, 24/7, 365. That's the way I start all my speeches. I'd like to see at least 540,000 earmarked for active transportation in the 2026 budget. Any questions? Any idea how I came up with that number? Think hard. 45,000 people in Webster, $1 a month. Thank you.
Okay, now, nobody else signed in. Kevin, you want to speak at the?
30 seconds. From the chair.
No, you're not speaking from the chair. You know, because cameras on and all that. No cameras are pointing out at the crowd. They're pointing there, so. Mr. Kevin Lockhart has decided to speak at the public hearing for the 2026 budget. Kevin, shoot away.
So at the bottom, 2020, total unrestricted fund balance except the capital fund, 16,827,455. Escalations through the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years up to 33,709,079. I take that to mean that's the operating, the tax rate per $1,000. I find this all confusing, and but those numbers escalating, I wanted to draw attention to because that I assume means that we're taking on much more debt service and it's getting more expensive to operate this town. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And you're right, that was 30 seconds. And Kevin is a wonderful young man, and like I said, accounting is an interesting thing. What he was describing was not the debt we took on, that was our aggregate savings account. Fund balance has gone up double in the last couple of years, and I described it earlier. That's a good problem. It is a problem, and it's one that we have a fund balance policy to make sure we have guide rails to make sure we don't overtax the citizens as time goes on. So, thank you, Kevin. Anybody else for the public hearing? Okay.
Oh,
That,
I see a hand raised.
oh, sir, jump up.
I'm not jumping anywhere.
All right. And if you could give your name and address when you get up there.
Yeah, it's Frederick Schwind, 25 Corning Park in the village of Webster. First of all, I want to ask a question of all you up there. What is your party affiliation from there down to here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is that right? There's 6 of you up there? Yes, no?
Well, there are, I think, 6 people
Yeah,
up here.
okay. Yeah, good.
Um, yeah.
Now, can I have your party affiliation from here down?
Yeah, we're not gonna answer that, but I will tell you what my party
Why not?
affiliation is.
Why won't
I'm a
you-
KEG
why
party
won't you
affiliate,
answer it?
that's what I am.
It's a
I
simple
said we're
que-
not gonna
it's a
answer
simple question.
questions. Keep going, you have
Simple
4
question.
minutes and
What
30
is your party
seconds left.
affiliation?
You have 4 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Thank you. You answered my question.
I did. He
Okay.
likes the KEG party affiliation.
I'm here to determine, in my mind, whether your credibility, whether you have credibility to represent me in my town. I've been in this town since 1955. I'm 76 years old. Probably been in this town longer than anybody here. All right? I'm very concerned. And when I get concerned, believe me, I do something. And if you know me, you know that I mean business. All right?
You got that?
From what I can see, well, that's all right. You let me, I'll be done in a minute.
No, we just wanted to make sure
but-
we got that in the minutes.
From what I can see on this, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the budget increase is over almost $5 million, is that correct? From what it was in '25, what you're proposing?
I just have to say something. I'm sorry, sir, but then, excuse me. Earlier, when we started the public hearing, we addressed the fact that we don't answer questions. You're absolutely welcome to express any
You
comments.
don't answer questions?
Not during the public hearing, but we will get back to you with those answers later.
Thank you, you've answered a question for me. All right, here's, just by looking through the Webster Herald here, and I didn't check what this stuff is for or anything like that. I base this on my own budget at home, when I'm buying groceries or going to Walmart, or, by the way, I do shop at Walmart, okay? I'm not a big clothes slave, okay? These are just the things that I've gotten out of the Webster Herald. Here's an increase, and like I say, I don't know what these increases are for. I'll be happy to go back and find them. But when I see increase, to me, that says it's gonna cost more, all right? Fair enough? Does everybody agree with that, not agree? Increase, more? Okay. Okay, here's a 19.4% increase. Okay? 40.7% increase. 155.7 increase. Webster Herald. 18.2% increase. 15.8% increase. 12.1% increase. Oh, and these are real good. Maybe you can answer these for me. Here's an assessing revaluation up 486.7%. Chips, road material, up $200,000, an increase of 80%. Okay? Here's another one. Oh, this is a small one. Increase of 46.5%. Okay? That's a little one. Folks, that's a little one. All right, here we go again. Here's a good one. I like this one. Engineering surveying. Okay? I thought I was reading this wrong. I honestly did. 1,900%? Does that sound right? Insurance premium. That one I can sort of see, but not at 30%. Okay? Here's one. Town attorney consultant. I would like to see what that guy does, okay? Up 515.8%. You know, when I look at my budget at home, I know I'm gonna have increases, that's a given, but my increases are like 3%, 4, maybe up to 10, and that's really
I
starting
could have
to-
seen this coming. Frederick, you're at 4 minutes and 50 seconds.
I'm sorry?
You're now at 4:55.
Okay, thank you, I'm almost done.
Okay.
Vehicle leases, 29.5%. All right. Utilities, 47.7%. Increases, folks. Increases. You're paying, I'm paying. Think about it.
5 minutes and 20
Webster Hill,
seconds,
folks, Webster
Frederick.
Hill, your paper. 47.4%. And finally, we're going to deal with natural gas, and that's only 104.2%.
Yeah. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Thank you,
Okay.
Frederick.
I'm not done yet.
Frederick, you're done.
Oh,
Thank you.
I am done. Thank you.
Okay? And I appreciate what you just did. That's great. No, it is great. It is.
Well, I'd like to see
Yep.
something done about it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's great or not, it doesn't bother me.
Kevin.
It's great to me.
Hey, Kevin,
Yes, sir.
can you give that to him?
All right. To the gentleman.
That's correct. Is there anybody else that would like to speak tonight at the public hearing for the proposed 2026 budget? Well, that's an interesting pair. Does anybody else want to speak tonight at the budget? Okay. I am going to officially close out the public hearing. And before we move on to the next segment, open to the floor, each speaker allowed 5 minutes. Is there any comments or questions by the board subsequent to the public hearing before we move to voting on a budget tonight?
I think since one of our colleagues or member is sick and is not here, I think we should table this and vote when 5 of us are here.
And I appreciate that, Ginny, okay, but we could have somebody sick in 2 weeks, and we could have somebody sick in 4 weeks. As I said earlier, you know, if you want to vote no on this budget that's been 6 months, that's your prerogative. We don't need a supermajority. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna take executive privilege a little bit here. We can reconnoiter the sequence of things tonight. We'll do the open to the floor speaker after we do a resolution vote. And that resolution vote is going to be on, number 4. I make a motion to adopt the Town of Webster's 2026 final budget.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
It's gonna. Nay.
Okay. All right, we have a passed budget for 2026, 3-1 vote. All right, next up is the open to the floor, where each speaker gets up to 5 minutes to speak to anything their heart desires. We have one person signed in tonight, but we might have some other takers, and that is the Honorable Kevin Lockhart. Kevin,
Really, the only one?
you're the only one signed in.
Oh, boy.
But
Sorry,
that-
I feel like it's all about me. I'll go after you. All right, we got Chris. Hi, everybody. Kevin Lockhart from 100-2 Kittleberger Park in Webster. Thanks for coming out tonight. Tonight, I came out to address our tiny little flag outside on the town pole. It's hoisted up. It's on a 30-foot flagpole. I went outside today and I measured it, and the app that I was using to measure it said it was 33 feet tall. And the American flag that is hoisted on it is only 4 by 6. I'm demanding answers tonight onto how we came to the conclusion to begin with on this tiny little flag. It is kind of embarrassing, and because I was a little upset about it, I broadcast my disagreement with it. And about 160 people agreed that we should get a mega flag, a giant flag. I suggested doing 12 feet by 18, which would be magnificent. Might lose some birds to it, but that's another issue. And turns out that the town had some opinions on this matter. So there is a certain proportion that the flag should be at, and it should be at minimum 5 by 8. So in correspondence with the town, I think it was really just me and Supervisor Flaherty to begin with, I outlined my complaint about the tiny flag. And to his credit, Supervisor Flaherty immediately purchased a 5 by 8 flag, a slightly less tiny flag, and promised to put it up. And I think he thought that I might be happy with that, but I spoke with the town, I spoke with the town supervisor's clerk, I spoke with the clerk that answers the phone at Town Hall, and Josh Artuso was involved from the planning department. Actually, he's very central to this because it has to do with planning in the town, I suppose. So between the town supervisor, Flaherty, planning director, Josh Artuso, and myself, we determined that a 30-foot pole has a 1/3 max allowance of 10 feet, which is the streaming, the length, so it can stream down 10 feet. So I'm really insistent that we have to have the largest possible American flag outside of Town Hall. The town is a little bit resistant to this idea. I got the feeling that they really didn't like this idea at all, and that's why they quickly replaced the 4 by 6 with a 5 by 8. But the absolute minimum that I'd be willing to concede is a 6 by 10 flag, which follows the maximum proportion allowed on a 30-foot pole. The steel poles are very expensive. They're about $3,000. But most people, honestly, are most excited about having an enormous flag, which I think would be very, very exciting. I think we should do it. I think we should put a 12-foot by 18-foot American flag on a 30-foot flagpole. That would be awesome and inspiring. A lot of people are for it. A few people offered to pay for the flag out of their pocket. So I would expect to see the town move on this with some excitement and enthusiasm so that we can have a giant flag. But I think the minimal that we should settle for is the larger end of the standard kind of measurements that everyone agrees on, where there's a consensus around the data, which is the 6 by 10 foot flag, and we should settle for nothing less. And every day I look at the little tiny flag on that giant flagpole, I get a little bit upset with the town, and I get a little bit aggravated, and I start to get a little bit annoyed by the small little things that they're doing that aren't really a big deal, but kind of remind me that someone at the town put this little tiny flag on the 30-foot flagpole, and their solution was to make it 1 foot bigger. We need a giant flag. I hope to see all of your support on this issue. Every one of you, I think we should be calling for more flags, bigger flags, especially in front of Town Hall. We should just make it a point. And I don't understand why people are offended by this. It seems like there's folks out there that are genuinely offended by our flag. And so I've encouraged,
4:45.
where are we at?
4:45.
Those folks should self-deport.
Thank you, Kevin. Does anybody else who didn't sign in want to take the podium? Christopher, jump up there.
Chris Nacka, 1065 Shoecraft Road. This was probably the more of the interesting town board meetings I've been to. It's nice to see so many people here. I love you, and I hope you all have a really good night.
Now, that was wonderful. Christopher, you know what? You can speak at these town board meetings anytime you want. And so can you, Kevin. Okay, well, anybody else? Going once? Oh, are you over 18? Darn it. We'll get you back here in a few years. So that concludes the open to the floor for 5 minutes. Our next up is we have 2 board meeting minutes for consideration for approval, and it was from 2 weeks ago tonight. And a broken record on this, Deneen, thank you for being so timely on these. It really helps the board members Yeah, that's what we did talk about last night, because if we got them like 3 weeks later, I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So it's good procedure, and you are following the footsteps of Dolly, and thank you. I have reviewed the October 2nd, 2025 Town Board Workshop minutes, and I make a motion that we approve them.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen.
Aye.
And I also reviewed the regular Town Board meeting minutes from the October 2nd, 2025 meeting, and I make a motion that we approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen.
Aye.
Now, this one, I think I might need some help from either Kyle, Town Council, and/or Paul, Town Finance Director. Unfortunately, Councilwoman Wright was not able to make it tonight to the meeting, and she was the one who reviewed the bills this
So I
week.
might be able to
I
help a
witnessed
little
her
bit on this.
reviewing the bills.
What?
She was there reviewing them while I was there.
I received the
Didn't have any
text from
issues.
Councilwoman Wright, and she did approve the bills. As Paul says, she did review them, so I just wanted to give that information out.
Councilman Cahill, if you could make the motion then.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve the bills as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Nguyen.
Aye.
Can we stop at that for just a moment?
Sure?
That's actually the second time that that's come up in the past year, and the last time it came up, I was leading the meeting and was also confused about what to do. And one of the things we suggested was that, and this probably will happen because I think we're looking at doing these bills electronically, but once the council person whose responsibility it is that month to review the bills should put a cover sheet or something on top of it saying that they've done it and just initial it, and then we could avoid that confusion.
Well, we initial every single page,
Right, but just,
so I don't
just,
understand the cover page.
well, I don't
aspect
either,
of
but it would give the board the direction that everything has been reviewed without looking through every single one of those, because there's hundreds of them. It's just an extra step that I think would be helpful, and it may take care of itself when they're done electronically. But I know we talked about it last time, we ought to look into it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I mean, the good news is, 6 years I've been supervisor, it's happened twice.
Right.
And I don't review the bills. That's separation of duties and all that. Because I sign off on them, right, as far as the POs and all that.
Yeah.
So the 4 board members rotate monthly, I guess, reviewing them. And really, the only duty per se, the reason why we have to come here every 2 weeks and have a town board meeting is minimally to approve paying the bills. And some board meetings back during COVID, towns, the only thing business execution was authorizing to pay the bills. So the vendors got paid and, people got paid. So that's the good news. It's only happened twice that the reviewer, the town board member, but yeah, I think it probably will resolve itself, but I'm certainly open-minded to, a cover sheet that.
Seems to be a way
goes
to
in,
make it a little bit tighter,
Just
yeah.
in case, so, whatever. I actually will make a motion to approve the prepaid warrants as submitted by Paul Adams, the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen.
Aye.
And I will make a motion to approve the purchase orders as submitted by Paul Adams, the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen.
Aye.
Kelsey, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think this is a big night. And you are, to me, you are so deserving of this. You have proven over the last couple of years that you are very much up for succeeding somebody who is pretty impressive, Braden Connard, as an HR director, personnel director. We talked about this, I think, when they presented at a workshop a couple weeks ago, that Brayton is retiring after 30-some-odd years, and public service. And for the last couple of years, Brayton has said to us that, you know, when Kelsey came on board, as she started helping him with some HR stuff, he said, Kelsey Feeney's got what it takes to be the next HR director. And it's funny, because then I was in some meetings with her. Union negotiations are fun, aren't they, Kelsey? Yeah. Kelsey's impressive. She gets stuff done. So I don't know after this resolution if you want to say anything, or if you'd be like, peace out. Okay. Would you like to, well, why don't we get the resolution done, so you know. I'm making a motion, I'll make a motion to appoint Kelsey Feeney as the Director of Personnel, succeeding Brayton Connard as of February 1st, 2026.
Are we doing this effective December 20th
Is that what we're doing?
for purposes of cross-training and knowledge transfer?
Well, now, that's a very interesting detail. I wish Brayton was here.
I'm just reading what the resolution in front of me says.
Based on his retirement being January 31st and how that works in the system, in New York State pension and all that. Where did you see that?
It's on the resolution that's in my packet. It says effective December 20th, concurrent with Director of Personnel Brayton Connard for the purposes of cross-training and knowledge transfer.
Okay, so Kyle, I just want to make sure the legal interpretation of that is that we will have concurrent directors of personnel for 40 days.
That is correct.
Okay. I am going to amend, I guess, my motion. I make a motion to appoint Kelsey Feeney as the Director of Personnel, effective December 20th, where she will run concurrent as that director with Brayton Connard until January 31st, 2026, at which time on February 1st, 2026, Kelsey will be the only Director of Personnel. It's a long motion.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Kelsey, if this is anything about the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not going to allow it.
It won't be. So thank you. I'll make it short and sweet. First, I just want to say that I'm very excited and honored to become the next Director of Personnel once Brayton, say, officially retires. Second, I want to thank you, Tom, the current supervisor, and the entire town board for giving me that opportunity. And lastly, I want to thank Brayton. I know he's not here tonight, but he's been a great mentor over the past year. And I think I can say for everybody at the town that he's going to be greatly missed. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kelsey.
Kelsey.
Next, number 6, looks innocent enough, but this is kind of, I gotta say, Chris, Chris is leaving. That this feels almost like a victory to me, because back in 2020, I couldn't understand as an accountant how the 2020 budget was approved in October or November of 19. And then I became supervisor in January of 20, and there was a resolution to adopt the 2020 fees for the town in like May or June of 2020. And I was like, I don't know, I mean, it seems like accounting 101. Wouldn't you adopt the fees, the revenue, the park fees, the rec fees, and all that at the same time you're adopting the budget? And Paul, I think you were like, well, yeah, that's how it should be done, right?
Makes sense.
We achieved it. So, does anybody have any questions about the Town of Webster fee schedule and the 2026 Webster Parks and Recreation Center, all those fees?
I do not.
Okay. Then I make a motion to adopt the 2026 Town of Webster fee schedule and the 2026 Webster Parks and Recreation Center Lodge Facility and Field rates as presented.
Second?
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
Thanks, Chris. Well, before we were on tape and whatever, I said to Mr. and I assume Mr. and Mrs. Turco that what we are about to do tonight has been around for 3 years. I remember when you were up there and I said, well, you know, back in November or whatever of '22, okay, let's let cooler heads prevail. We're not gonna go and tear down your shed. That seems ham-handed. We'll work through this. I didn't think it would take 3 years. But we got through it. And I kept saying to Deneen, our town clerk, who meets with me once a month, to say, here's the things we did at town board meetings the last month, 2 months. Need, you know, still to have a ribbon put around them, and this thing's been sitting on that list for 3 years. So I said, we're gonna get this done. This is a licensing agreement that essentially, the Turcos, who own 819 Houston Road, have a shed that is in a sanitary sewer easement. You can't put a shed or a fence or things like that in sanitary sewer easements or drainage easements. But you can come to the town board and ask for a licensing agreement, and part of that is that you understand that, hey, you know, if we ever gotta get into this, the pipes and stuff that are under that shed, as long as you understand, you'll be working with Kyle, our town attorney, on this, that, you know, we're gonna go in there and probably tear up that shed, and God bless you, we're not liable for tearing apart your shed. Or fence, when people come in and do that. And I think, Kyle, you do a nice job of making sure people understand that. So, I think we have the letter from sanitary sewer that says that they're okay with where this shed is positioned relative to where the pipes are. It's a rather large easement. You think so? I think so. That's a whole nother kettle of fish that we won't get into tonight. Does any of the board members have any questions about this?
I have a couple.
Sure. And if you want to take, because you may be best to answer any of the council men or women's questions.
Well, let me just first say that the process that we go through for these easements has changed, and I am very much in favor of it. You'll see that there's a letter in this packet by Chief Operator Richard Neely. So that process in and of itself has come a long ways, and I appreciate that. So one of my questions is, was this shed already part of your property when you bought it, or did you build it?
No, we built it, we used to have a kid's playground in the same spot for many years,
Okay,
yeah.
that's the only question I had. Thank you.
Jenny? No. Patty?
I have no questions.
Okay. Well, I make a motion to grant a license agreement, I make a motion to grant,
Supervisor, before you make your motion,
Yes,
just
sir.
note that it's both a shed and a fence within the easement.
okay. So we're the, okay. And Rick's letter was, okay. All right.
His letter identifies the
Yep.
shed.
It does. So I make a motion to grant a licensing agreement to allow a shed and fence within a sanitary sewer easement at 819 Houston Road, tax ID number 063.21-2-18.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
Dave, have you met Kyle yet?
No.
Well, you'll, I don't know, do you send the things out to him?
The easement agreement, or licensing agreement, excuse me, has been prepared. coordinate with Josh's office on
Oh,
a signature and the fee associated with it.
Okay,
Okay.
Beautiful.
thank you.
Enjoy. Well, the nice thing is, since you just heard how these license agreement work for fences or things inside of an easement, is the young lady behind the pillar? Yes, she is, and she's behind you too, Bridget, and the pillar. Are you the owner of 637 Ironwood? Oh, Bending Bow. Yes. Okay, who is the owner of 637 Ironwood? That gentleman, okay. Well, in order of these, and this one, because it's a drainage easement, our highway superintendent, Pat Stevens, signed the letter that okayed this, right? So do the board members have any question about this one?
Are those pugs in that picture?
Is there pugs in there?
I think so.
Well, that's why there's a fence, John.
Well, there you go. Serving its purpose.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
No,
Okay.
and there is a letter from Pat in the
Yep.
packet.
Will I make a motion to approve a license agreement to locate a chain link fence within a town drainage easement at 637 Ironwood Circle, tax ID number 079.13-1-70?
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Deja vu all over again. Ma'am, who is at 619 Bending Bow? Heard it, and I'll say the same thing. Once we approve this, you'll be working with Josh's department to get all the filings done, fees and all that. But here's a privacy fence within a town sanitary sewer easement. I think Rick, our chief plant operator, signed this one. Or was it Adam? Wait a minute.
No, Rick,
It was Rick.
yeah.
Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I make a motion to approve a licensing agreement to allow a privacy fence within a town sanitary sewer easement at 619 Bending Bow Drive, tax ID number 064.11-3-10.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
All right, and our last agenda item tonight, hard to believe that we've gotten this far in the year and we haven't had any local laws. Guess we've been slow this year, haven't we? But 2 weeks ago, we had the public hearing about the proposed town code changes, amendments that have to do with building construction and property maintenance. I think a couple of people took the podium, but there was, if anything, some of them, I think, are excited about some of the changes that are being made. So before we vote on this, do the board members have any questions or comments?
No, I did speak with Josh before the meeting started, because I know that one of the residents who spoke, while she was excited about it, had a concern that a couple of her concerns were not being addressed within the certain section, but Josh said that he had reviewed it and felt that her concerns were addressed within another section. The one she was stating might not have been completely appropriate for where it should be placed. So those concerns are met within these codes.
And I spoke with Josh, what, 2 weeks ago, was it, Josh, regarding one of the changes?
Yes.
So, yeah, you addressed those to me, and I appreciate it, the clarification, so I'm fine.
Well, I spoke with you too, and I thank you so much for the, clarification and explanatory. Also too, if, like you said, if any of our constituents have any question whatsoever, they can always reach out to you,
Absolutely.
and then, you can explain.
Yes. Okay, well, in that case, I make a motion to adopt local law number 1 of 2025, amending town code sections pertaining to building, construction, and property maintenance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
All right, and that concludes the formal part. We'll just do a quick round table, starting with Rick Canale.
I'm going to apologize, it might not be real quick. Something came to light in the recent days that I felt needed to be addressed. So you want to put the clock on me, I think I got about 5 minutes, if you're okay with that.
You're a professional, and we
it's-
trust you.
Okay, it's in regards to our project and the drying technology that we're looking to install. There's been some concerns out there on social media and in the Webster Herald that I just want to kind of address some of the points that were brought up in there. There was a question posed wondering if the town board and sewer department personnel did their due diligence on this project. We began this project, including the drying technology, prior to the New York State DEC's biosolids recycling and interim strategy for PFAS compounds, which are the emerging contaminants that are out there, and the EPA's draft sewage sludge risk assessment for PFOA and PFAS. Those are the larger chain emerging contaminants that they're addressing in this legislation. So our goal for this project, and the reason for the drying technology, was to reduce and the hope to eliminate our almost $600,000 sludge hauling budget. Hauling costs at the landfill have gone up from $65 a wet ton a little over 5 years ago to over $160 a wet ton to haul our solids to a landfill. That's almost 3 times it's gone up in the last 5 years, and will continue to go up. Also, landfills are closing. We're originally looking to bring in biosolids from other small municipalities, kind of be a merchant facility, and create a revenue stream for us and help cut their hauling costs. But when the DEC's interim strategy came out, we decided to be proactive and get our current biosolids tested for these emerging contaminants. We found that our levels were well below the established threshold set by the New York State DEC. The established threshold was less than 20 parts per billion. On the PFOA, we had results of 3.7 and 2.8. And on the other, we had no detects, which they were not detectable. This made us decide not to become a merchant facility for taking in biosolids from other facilities because we didn't want to bring in someone else's issues if they had them. So we wanted to keep ours at the levels we had them at. So this made us shift the capital that we were going to do for this infrastructure needed for accepting biosolids, and we built a bigger digester because Fairlife had come to town and needed an outlet for their high-strength organic waste. This waste introduced to the larger digester will give us the opportunity to replace the revenue that we projected from the hauled-in biosolids with revenue from hauled-in high-strength waste, but also create biogas to be utilized within the facility. All of these items were brought to the town board and were voted on, and that should answer the question whether this staff, our staff, or the town board did their due diligence on this. There was a question whether the process is safe for the health of Webster residents and town staff. There are no issues that the Webster residents have to be concerned about. The dryer we'll be using, that we will be using will create a very dry product that will either be sent off to fertilizer or sent to a landfill. These emerging contaminants are in everything. They're in clothing, packaging, food containers, cosmetics, and so on. It's even in the drinking water. And the concern about the health of residents and concerns have been raised by the EPA's risk assessment I mentioned earlier. This study was focused specifically on farm family that lived specifically on or near a site where biosolids were disposed of in a monofill or land applied annually of about 10 metric tons per 100 acres over 40 years. And the assessment assumes that that farm family sustained itself primarily on the crops, milk, eggs, and drinking water from the impacted land over a 10-year period. It did not assess the risks of the general public, who typically have a diverse diet and are not in close contact with land applied biosolids, and that would be Webster residents. Landfills in other states have banned land applications. Well, they're finding out that that's been an issue for those states. It was also referenced that the town of Cameron and Thurston in New York State have banned drying technology like the ones we're installing. Those 2 towns have banned land application of biosolids. Had nothing to do with the drying technology that we're going to use. The state 5-year moratorium banning land application of biosolids that is proposed was referenced. The case of the legislators trying to regulate instead of letting the experts at the New York State DEC and EPA continue their research, which is scientific based, have a better handle on this than state legislators. We understand that this is an issue for the environment and not against the continued research and studies being conducted, but our argument is that they need to go after the areas where the issues are, and we do not have an issue here. The last item was what is the town of Webster going to do with the $10 million worth of equipment that they purchased that they can't use now? Well, we will be using that equipment, and it's not going anywhere. We brought this technology in to reduce our sludge hauling cost. That is going to happen no matter what happens with the legislation. We decided to reduce our solids so we could send less to a landfill. Best case scenario, we give it away. So this drying technology will take it from a 25 to 30% solid, which is 70 to 75% water, and take it to approximately 90% solids, which is 10% water. That's an 85% decrease in water content, and we pay for that water to haul it. So this was a revenue-driven decision, and we did do our due diligence. I apologize for my long public service announcement, but the misinformation, I just wanted this out there to get a bit of clarification.
Thank you very, very much for that, Rick. And I know we've had numerous conversations, this entire board, and yourself and Art and Navitas, with respect to the upgrades to the sewage treatment plant, which were needed years and years ago. And you brought this to our attention with respect to the sludge hauling. And you mentioned earlier the significant increase per ton, okay, in hauling our sludge. So by implementing this plan and this system, I look at it that we're looking into the future, we're planning ahead, but we're doing it in a smart manner. It's going to be a significant investment, but it's most certainly going to be a significant savings to the people in this room, because we're not going to have to spend $600,000 a year hauling sludge. And you look at these other towns and villages that are going to have to haul this sludge, and it's doubled in the last, 5 years per ton? Well, the
Triple.
taxpayers in the village, or the town of Webster, are not gonna see that increase, because you were forward-looking, the board listened to you, and I think every board member has spent time at the sewage treatment plant. I know I have, and I know Patty has, and the other town board members, and asked very direct questions of you and your staff with respect to not only the drying technology and the investment thereof, but also the upgrades that we're going through currently. So to that, I say thank you for that, okay? For bringing this to this board that impacts the town in a positive manner. And also, you don't regularly hear towns responding to social media. But this was appropriate in my mind,
It
and
was
thank you for
questioning the
doing
health of
that.
residents,
I
and
commend
just
you for
wanted to
doing
verify
that.
That's all.
The other thing, Rick, I'd really like to thank you, and certainly all of those things needed to be addressed. And I know you and I have had numerous discussions about things that I see on social media and say, oh my goodness, if these people were only educated, they wouldn't be writing these things. If they were educated to the topic and really understood it. And I want to thank you for being proactive when you saw the issues that we could have in causing our product to be over the DEC limits. You said, okay, wait a minute, we need to change courses here because this is going to be an up-and-coming issue. So let's avoid it completely and move in another direction. And I want to thank you for being proactive and educating the board as to why it was important to do that.
I welcome questions from anyone, public at all, just for this, because it is an education process.
That's one thing I highly respect, not only of Rick, but our other department heads. I'm kind of known for being direct. I don't really beat
No.
around the bush too much.
No.
Really? No.
Well, it can work to my advantage and my disadvantage, but the one thing that I really respect about Rick, as I said, and the other department heads, is when I'll go in and ask a question, and I always get a direct answer. I don't get, maybe this or maybe that. They'll either say yes or they'll say no, or you're right or you're wrong. And you can't ask any more, in my opinion, from anyone when you're having a conversation, especially on a topic that may be controversial, then just get a direct answer. That's just the way I was brought up, and Rick, every time, and we've had some pretty hard discussions. And he's always honest and direct. And I can't, as a board member, I cannot ask any more of any of the department heads.
I think it's also important that, you know, people read a lot. As I said, I've read a lot, and I say to Rick, oh my gosh, can you believe this? But rather than believe everything that's out there, just go to a subject matter expert
Yes,
and get the real story.
it's a great point.
Well, yeah, Rick is, I mean, we are so fortunate to have Rick Canali as our scientist, chief plant operator here in Webster. What a lot of people don't know about Rick, first of all, he's published in magazines, NYWEA, which is the New York Water,
Infrastructure.
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
too many acronyms in government.
Yeah, it sure is.
But Rick was the chief plant operator in the city of Rome for a long time, and he retired. I know he seems too young for that, but then we hired him contracting here in 2020, and he was coming in a couple days a week from Rome just to kind of, you know, whatever. And we were like, wait a minute, this guy is unbelievable. We need to hire him. And we did. And he and his wife moved to Webster. And I think, is anybody heard about how Chobani is building this massive yogurt production facility on Griffiths Air Force Base outside of Rome? Well, I'm going to tell you something. He, working at the Rome sanitary sewer plant back in the day, brought that technology to Rome, and he started doing some of the beta testing with Chobani. And I could make an argument that, Rick, you are the reason that Chobani is building they're bringing all their production facilities to Rome and Griffiths Air Force Base. He has brought that kind of insight and technology here to Webster. And I'm going to be very honest with you. 6 years ago, I walked in the door, and I was like, oh, we have a sanitary sewer plant. This is interesting. And in the first month I was supervisor, I found out two things. One, 30 years ago, every sanitary sewer plant in Monroe County except 3 decided to go offline and go to Pure Waters, go to the county. The 3 were the town of Webster, the village of Webster, and Honeoye Falls. Okay. The second thing I found out when I sat down with Paul Adams, because we speak the same language as accountants, is that this was his second tour of duty as our finance director. As a young man in his late 20s, early 30s, he was here in 1990, right?
I was.
And he was. And he said to me, he goes, you know what's funny, Tom? He goes, I came back here in 2018. When I left here in 1990, the sewer rate, the flat rate, O&M, which is operations and maintenance, and the capital rate, when you add them together, it's on your tax bill. Back in 1990, it was $200, right?
Correct. When I left
He-
in 98, it was like 164 or something.
Yeah, so he comes back, and it's still down in the 160s. And he says to me, because we're facing this massive sewer plant, because you're not going to believe this, but sanitary sewer plants rot. Can you believe that? They rot. Well, if you suck them dry of money, which when you only charge $160 a year to the citizens, when 30 years ago you charged $200, cost didn't go down. Paul said to me, you know what? If we would have kept it at $200 flat from 1990 all the way to 2020, we'd have so much money in the bank that we don't have to go into debt to rebuild this sewer plant. And as we have heard some people say tonight, our debt is pretty big now. We had to go in debt to build this sewer plant.
Significantly.
You know what? We went to the county and said, look, before we do any more on this, is there any way we could go to Pure Waters now? And they're like, are you kidding me? That ship sailed 30 years ago. You can't do it. So we all got together and said, well, we're kind of in a conundrum here because we got to rebuild this sanitary sewer plant. What do we do? And that was around the time Rick came, and all of a sudden we got introduced some stuff that if you're going to be in it, be in it. And when he showed us technology that could reduce cost and increase revenues, all of a sudden, what we were doing over there caught the eye of a place called Coke Fairlife. If we weren't in the process of doing that in 2023, and we were already a year and a half into it, Coke Fairlife never comes to Webster. They don't come to Webster. Because the dairy industry, I couldn't believe this. I've learned a lot about sanitary. What comes out of your toilet is easier to clean through the sewer system than what comes out of the milk factory, which amazed me, right? Do you know that the 45,000 citizens in Webster, 3.1 million gallons a day of sanitary sewage comes out of your homes and businesses to our sewer plant? When they're up and running, Fairlife's 3 lines of production, which they say by April or May, they'll be all 3 up and running, 2 million gallons a day of sanitary sewer coming in. That just gives you some perspective. So where Mr. Schwinn got up today and read off 119% increases, conceded. We have increased expenses. But what Paul showed during our budget workshop, we also have increased revenues because we got into business. If we're going to do this sanitary sewer plant, which we had no choice, I got to tell you, it's one of my proudest things that I'll walk away from in the next 2 months. That this board and previous board members like Barry Dean and Bill Abbott, because it wasn't easy, John. When we first heard energy performance, what the heck is this? This is voodoo. But we had to get educated on it because we knew that we were in a tough situation. I couldn't be happier with what has played out in this. And I said at a meeting a couple weeks ago when when Art Patrone was hired in 2017, he was the perfect hire to run the sewer plant. He was a project manager. He had worked for Krista. He's a construction manager. They knew that they were going to be under construction at that plant. The plant was doing about $3.5 million a year of business. Next year, we got it budgeted at $11 million. Art has left for a private job, God bless him, and I said at this meeting a couple weeks ago, the town needs to look at the next person we hire at sewer. It's a different skill set. We're done with construction in a couple months. We need somebody who knows how to run that business. Because as Xerox's campus starts to get cobbled up and they sell 80-acre parcels, there could be another Fairlife building on that industrial campus. That sanitary sewer plant might be $20 million in business. And I can assure you that if that happens, you might see your sewer rate go from $258 down to $210. Because the revenue that you get from these industries, we already have zoned industrial park that's sitting over there rotting for the last 30 years. There's some pretty exciting stuff going on in town. So I know I overtalked. I talked more than you did, Rick, on that one. But, John and I both.
Everything's a contest with you.
Yeah, I know. But, I'm getting a little, melancholy or whatever now that I got 4 meetings left. That I'm starting to take stock of, hey, we got some stuff done in the last 6 years.
Yes, we have.
Josh, first may I say, I do not micromanage. Kevin gave me credit for jumping and getting a bigger flag. I had nothing to do with that. That was Josh's department. I got informed of it after the fact. Thank you, Josh, for getting the 5 by 8 foot flag. I was not involved in that decision, nor should I have been. Nope. Josh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to report to the town board that we have secured our next building inspector. His name is Kevin Moore. He has 20-plus years of experience in both construction and as an inspector for several municipalities in the area. And I think he'll be a great addition to our team. So he will be starting on November 3rd, and I will be sure to bring him to introduce him to you at a future meeting.
Thank you, that is
Thanks,
great
Charlie.
news.
Paul.
All right, now that the 26 budget is passed, I will be compiling all of the data, which will be sent off to Monroe County Real Property Services Department, Amy Grande. And then the Monroe County Legislature takes that information and somewhere around mid-November, they hopefully approve it, and that drives the tax rates, which end up on your town and county tax bill in January. So we're on track.
Yeah, and I know that you just started scheduling the third quarter 2025 budget to
I did.
actual with the big departments. And that handout that I gave you earlier tonight that had our fund balance go from 16 million to 33 million at the end of '24, notice how it has it 25 NA? Well, we don't, 25 is not done. But those meetings that we'll have in the next couple of weeks usually portend whether we are going to do better than budget in '25. If we do better than budget in '25, which it seems like every year we do, it's not out of the realm of imagination that your '25 bottom line number for fund balance will push up to $35, $36 million in aggregate.
It'll most likely tick up a bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the next board will be back here saying, okay, next May, June, what are we gonna do? How do we get rid of that money to keep the tax and stay within our fund balance policy? So, as I said, a good problem to have, but it's one that, you know, we wanna be very transparent and forthcoming to the taxpayers. We shouldn't be hoarding that money. But we can't also get rid of it all at once.
Right.
That would be a bad practice, so. Kyle?
No updates.
Man, 5-hour round trip today to Binghamton to be in court for 27 minutes. Now that's a gamer, right? Wow. How about that? And he still looks like $1 million. Last but not least is Deneen, town clerk, tax receiver, and I will say, this is, after this board meeting, the next board meeting, we're gonna go back to the round table of the town board members too, because the election will be over. Which will be nice.
Yeah.
We'll get back to hearing John, and Patty, and Ginny, and Jennifer, so. Deneen, you finish us off.
Just winding down with school tax collection. We have a couple weeks left. We're just tying up some loose ends, and we'll be transitioning any uncollected funds to the county on November 7th. That's all I
That's
got.
awesome. Well, gang, I hope everybody enjoyed this as much as I did. This meeting is adjourned.